Welcome, everybody, back to the Ask Dr. John video conversation series. It's a conversation that I get to have with my dad. So it's a father and a daughter talking about his new book, his first book, y'all. He's an author now. His memoir, American Change Agent, A Life and Legacy of Seeking Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion. How are you doing, Dr. John?
Just fine. Yep. Looking forward to today because it brings in a number of aspects that have certainly shaped my life.
All right. So today we're talking about the Black church, everybody. Yes, the Black church. We could go on and on and on about the rich presence of the Black church in the Americas over 400 years, wherever we land as a people of African descent, whether we are talking about the motherland of in the continent of Africa or across the Americas or wherever in the diaspora that we have set up shop and planted our own presence, we bring our spirituality. And so here in America, we have a great resource that is available online to anybody. It is called The Black Church. This is our story. This is our song. Some of you may know that Dr. Henry Louis Gates, he's a professor. He's done an enormous amount of work on the presence of African people across the diaspora. He has put together a 4-hour series that explores the 400-year-old history of the Black church in America. Go to pbs.org to watch it. Enjoy, let us know what you think about it. So, the Black church in our family spans the Black Catholic Church, the Baptist Church, and the AME Church that we know about. When I took a visit to Hagerstown, Maryland in 2023 for my 59th birthday, I had to go. I was privileged to visit the Dolman Black Heritage Museum, which is a true jewel. It's a treasure. And I want to give them a special shout out because they introduced me to the Ebenezer African Methodist Episcopal Church, which played a role in helping freedom seekers, enslaved people of African descent, like the Leeke family, Peter and Catherine Leeke, who had 14 children. One of them happened to be my great 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 grandfather, Leonard Leeke. That church probably played a strong role in helping them use the Underground Railroad to escape from Hagerstown and making their way to Amherstburg, Canada. So you see, the Black church has always been a essential part of our lives in some way, shape, or form. Now, I want to give a shout out to the Amherstburg Freedom Museum in Amherstburg, Canada, right across the Detroit River, y'all. This museum has a tremendous online uh, archives of information. I found out so much, and I'm looking forward to visiting one day. Putting a special shout out to those in Amherstburg at the Freedom Museum. We're coming. We're going to get there at some point because housed in that museum is the Nazarene AME Church. That church has played a role in the Underground Railroad. And I don't have documentation yet, but there's a strong likelihood that Peter and Catherine Leeke, my ancestors, my dad's ancestors, that they received support from that church when they arrived in Amherstburg in 1839-ish. It is because of that museum and the information that they have that we were able to put together the pieces of our family's legacy. We were able to understand ourselves. We were able to see the thread of the Black church, in particular, the Black AME church. When we read the obituary of my great great grandfather, Leonard Leake, who died at 102 in 1927 in Lansing, Michigan, we learned that he was also a member of an AME church in Lansing. How incredible! The power and the presence of the Black church and the AME church in our people's liberation, in them seeking freedom, and then building a life with what they were able to use. We have another connection to the Black church. It is David Thomas. He is the father of my great grandmother, my father's grandmother, Eunice Ann Thomas Roberts. Eunice Ann Thomas Roberts, and a shout out to the whole Roberts clan. Y'all know grandmother, as many of us know her by. She was an active member of the Second Missionary Baptist Church as well as the Eastern Star. Her husband, Henry Osborne Roberts, better known as Ozzy to his wife, or H.O., or Granny Man, he was an active member of the Spruce Street AME Church. He was also a Mason and played a role. I believe he served as treasurer. That church was directly across the street from where they lived in Terre Haute, Indiana. So there was no question that our family comes from a deep and rich history of the Black church. And it is thanks to my grandmother, Frederica Stanley Roberts Leake, and my dad, and my aunt Pauline Roberts, the sister of Frederica Stanley Roberts Leake, that our family was introduced to the Black Catholic Church. So, knowing all of this, John, Dr. John, I want to ask you, what does it mean to be a Black Catholic, and how has the Catholic Church, the Black Catholic Church in particular, been integral in your life? How has it shaped you?
Yeah, certainly. One of the things that I pride myself in is that I I've always been, as best as I can now say, a man of faith. Um, and yes, I did not follow some of the ancestors in terms of the AME or the Baptists. Um, Through some sort of way, my mother, Frederica, uh, and my dad made the choice of enrolling me in a Catholic school uh, at the second grade level. Um, and that was the introduction for me into the Catholic faith. Uh, my mother also, when I enrolled, she began instructions to become a Catholic. Now, my dad did not. My dad was not necessarily one to uh, go to church weekly. My dad was the kind that showed up at Easter and at Christmas. He was not someone that would I would say was a regular attendee. But we uh, we joined the Saint Augustine Catholic Church. Now, that's really important in terms of the Black Catholic Church because Saint Augustine was the Black Mother Catholic Church in Washington D.C. Uh, and that has a lot of meaning for me and shaped my early life because Saint Augustine, the Oblate Sisters of Providence, which was a Black order of nuns. They were the teachers, and naturally they they had a lot to say. They had a lot to do with uh, how I was educated and how uh, Mother Consolata, who was the principal, she literally made the decision on where I was going to go to high school at. And it was not resisted by my parents. And so, and St. Augustine still remains, a part for me. I'm an alumni of St. Augustine. I have continued to stay connected to St. Augustine. Now, I have always attended a Black Catholic church. Now, the Catholic Church is universal, but I have always, uh, one way or another, sought out and been a member of a Catholic church. When we moved to Flint, Michigan, we looked around and found a Black church, Christ the King church in Flint, Michigan. And then we moved back to the Washington, D.C. area. Uh, it wasn't long before we found a Catholic church, St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Largo, Maryland, of which I've been a member of that church, and the family has been a member since 1968. Uh, uh, our children grew up uh, in that environment. Uh, um, my oldest son was married at St. Joseph, so and I continue to be a very active member uh, at the Catholic Church, and I know that I would not have been able to do the different things over my years without uh, my having a strong sense of faith, and I continue to learn more about the Catholic Church, and it's just been really important. And I know many other people will say to themselves or to others how important the church was. And for Black people, uh, being associated, being members, and having the opportunity to attend a Black church, whether that is a Baptist, a Methodist, Episcopalian, as my cousins, they, a lot of them belong to the Episcopal Church in Wilmington, Delaware. The consistent thing is we believe in faith and believe in worshiping at church.
Yeah. Let's talk about your high school years. Tell us about the Catholic high school, share the name and where the brothers that were there, because that's a very unique story that has a very interesting connection to the new Pope, Pope Leo.
Yes, it does. As I said, Mother Consolata made the decision on where I was going to go to high school. I had a different place that I was thinking about wanting to go, but she knew better, and so she told my parents uh, he is going to Archbishop Carroll High School. It was the newest Catholic high school in the Washington area, and it was established uh, in 1951, and the Archbishop at the time, Archbishop uh, O'Boyle, when he had that school opened, it opened as a church that was a school that was going to be open to all, and uh, and it was just before the 1954 Brown versus Education uh, thing, and so I entered in 1953, and I was in the third class at Archbishop Carroll, and he also made a decision to have the Augustinian order be in charge of of Carroll High School. Now, let's talk about then the connection, which just recently happened with the selection of Pope Leo, who joined the Augustinian order. He had attended Villanova University, and Villanova is kind of the seat of the Augustinian order, and so that's the connection. And when it was announced that he would be the pope, and they talked about the work he had been doing, especially in Central and Latin America and so forth. And it came out, oh boy, everybody. In fact, a number of my former classmates say, "Oh, did you hear? Did you know that there's the connection and so forth?" And not only was he Augustinian, he was born, raised in Chicago South Side. So there's a lot of connections and so forth. But the major thing is, um, I'm proud, very proud to be a Catholic and to be a Catholic, Black Catholic man active in the church.
And one of the things that you have been able to do, not only just be a member of St. Joseph's Catholic Church, you played some leadership roles at St. Joseph's. And tell us a little bit about those leadership roles.
Well, yes, it's interesting when I was working. Um, the type of work that I was doing, both at the NEA and later having my own firm, it was hard for me to get involved in some of the church activities because I I just couldn't be available because a lot of the activities they met every week and so forth, and I couldn't tell one week from the other whether I was going to be, and I couldn't even depend on being available a lot of time on weekends. So it really wasn't until I got close to retirement that I made the choice, and of course, when I announced my retirement, then there were people who said, "Oh no, you're available now," and so I have been active in being a Eucharistic minister. That's someone who assists in giving communion, and uh, and I took a leadership role there, and then I. I've been active in a couple of other committees, like the Black History Committee, that we do something for Black Catholic during the Black Catholic History Month, and also the Black History. And then more recently, uh, I I joined a couple of other folks, and we established um, the uh, men's ministry, and that has really been very interesting. In fact, today, before we got together to do the conversation, I had attended our bi-weekly uh, men's ministry meeting, which is a Saturday morning at 7:30 in the morning, and and we use it as an opportunity for the men, and it's a interracial group. We have white, we have um, uh, Hispanic, and today we had a new member join us, and he's a young man, and recently married, and now have a young baby, and he's a military man, and he's from Costa Rica. So, uh, and the group, of course, is about half and half. Uh, uh, Black Americans and the other half African Americans, and they represent a couple of the different countries in Africa, and we spend time delving into uh, a lot more uh, information about the church, and we've been recently connecting uh, the in a sense the Old Testament and the New Testament, and in a way talking about uh, the roots uh, of Jewish roots, and it has just been illuminating, and I feel great about uh, my role, because I'm kind of a quasi leader, at least. Uh, I'm the person that tries to make sure everything gets communicated and all. But it's just a very rewarding, and that's why I continue to say, um, being involved in the church, and I made the conscious choice to be a Catholic, uh, has been very rewarding, and I would have to say it has been a way that there have been some times that, boy, I called on on the Lord, and I give thanks and praise to. I know that He had to have been helping me to make some of the decisions that I had to make as a man, as a husband, as a father.
So one thing that you did not mention was the fact that you were a part of the parish council.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes yeah, I've been a member of two different parish councils. Um, Early on, the first time that one of the pastors decided that he wanted to have a parish council. All parishes don't necessarily have it. It's not a requirement, but he decided he wanted a parish council, and and in the parish council at St. Joseph, it's a generally considered an elected position. So I was elected to be on the parish council, and then the members of the council uh, decided that I would be the uh, chair or the president of the parish council, and so I did. I took a stint at that, and then we went through a period where we did not have a parish council, and then when another pastor came in, uh, they revived it, and once again, my parish members thought, "Oh yeah, John should be a member of the parish council." And once again, yes, I was asked if, or not asked, I was elected to again be the president, and I did it for 4 or 5 years, and but I did get to the point where I've done my my job. I've done my stint. It's time for some other folks to step up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I stay active in, a number of ways.
Yeah, because you have your active role that you play in the African and Friends community group as the treasurer.
Yes, yeah. I, I've always believed essentially that if you're going to be involved in an organization, you should be willing to take some additional responsibilities. That
Right.
that's a part of how I see myself.
All right. Well, so we're going to put a pin in that because the book American Change Agent, A Life and Legacy of Seeking Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion gives you even more about the Black church and the Black Catholic Church in particular. So we invite you to go check it out. Go to any of the places online that sell books. You can purchase it for $20. You can learn more about the book as well as the two authors, Dr. John F. Leake and myself, Ananda Madeline Leake, by going to anandaleek.com/ Dr. John. We are wrapping up this episode, but we want to know if you've got thoughts, if you got questions that you'd like us to address in other videos, leave a comment. Let us know. You have any final words for the audience, Dr. John?
No, it our conversation today brought back a lot of memories because it went back to uh, uh, quite a few years ago in terms of some of things that uh, influenced my life
Mhm.
around my faith uh, and the church.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.